All right, we are back, and I'm excited to talk to Anthony from St. Paul, Minnesota. Anthony, what's up, my brother? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, it was great to have you at Summit and get to hear you talk and even talk to you one-on-one afterwards as well. So,
Well, I appreciate that, man. I'm looking forward to checking in with you, man. So you reached out, and I guess the crux of your question was, how do I get these bricks out of my backpack? I know they're there. What do I do next? So talk to me about what you were experiencing during that talk, and as you've come home and talked to your family and experienced your work situation, where are you? What's going on?
well, so after spending some time really contemplating on the bricks and everything, there's some that I can really identify easily,
Okay.
but there's some that I'm sure are there that I don't know anything about. So I kind of have interest in wanting to journal to kind of work through some of what I know, and then also if there's any advice or tips on how to discover and weed out those ones that I'm not aware of at this point. So how do I find out what's there that I'm not seeing?
So how do you find, you want to go spelunking, right? So you know there's some big rocks there. You want to know, hey, what are the little rocks that may be there? What are some ones that are buried way down there? I don't even know that they're there, that I may be carrying around unnecessarily. So what are one or two of the big ones that you found?
Well, some of the big ones are I grew up in an abusive house, so alcoholic dad, abuse both in regard to mom and the kids as well. So I know obviously that's one of the big, huge ones there.
Yeah.
And then some of the smaller ones, but still bigger, are some in regards to appearance and growing up not having a whole lot of money and things like that. So those are some of the other ones, and I'm sure there's a lot of other ones there that I'm not seeing. So yeah, just kind of how do I deal with those bricks now that I have identified them, and how do I work through kind of just examining them and making that plan to move forward with them. And then also, what else? How can I find what's down in the bottom of that backpack, down in the corner, and been sitting there forever and in the dark? How do I identify that and pull it out?
Man, I love your heart there, dude. Are you married? You got kids?
Yep. Yeah, I'm married and 5 kids.
Okay, 5 kids. Wow, fantastic. And tell me how the old bricks of an abusive childhood or alcoholism or poverty or body image issues, how do those things pop up when you are frustrated or exhausted in interacting with your wife or with your kids?
I find myself reacting a lot the way that I saw my dad react as a kid. A lot of explosive outbursts, just anger and frustration, yelling, things like that.
So, what is that when you find yourself yelling, exploding, being angry? What comes next? Usually, it's one of two things: blame or shame. Which one for you?
I feel shame after the situation's over, obviously, and I know that I didn't handle it right, and feel shame on the way that I do act.
And what do you do next?
Not much at this point, really.
What's your go-to numbing behaviors? How do you check out? Because shame hurts bad, and most of us, especially high-performing folks like you, have a couple of go-to behaviors.
I think I just shut down. I just turn inwards. I don't know. Sweets are always a hard thing for me, so I think I overindulge in that a lot. But I think I just shut down and turn inward. Stuff there.
Okay.
No, it's not okay to talk about. And that's kind of the soundtrack of my childhood as things is having alcoholic dad. That's not something we talk about. So.
Okay. Do you struggle with alcohol too?
No.
Do you struggle with any other addiction besides sweets?
No.
No? Do you struggle with being right?
Yeah. So I feel I have to be right, and I gotta know the right thing.
Okay.
Have the right answers.
And if you don't know the right thing, does that usually mean it's time to go to war? I'm going to defend my position, or do you check out then too?
Yeah, I get very defensive if I am challenged and questioned on things. So.
Okay. What does defensive feel like for you?
Like I feel that I need to be right, and like so I really just put it up like, no, I'm not wrong, and just kind of deflect a lot of it back. And even though sometimes I know that I'm wrong, I'll still put up the fight as if I'm not.
Because we're going to defend that honor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number one, thanks for sharing that, man. I promise, there's millions and millions of men out there and women out there with very similar experiences and responses. So a couple of things. If you've got stories in your past that include physical abuse, sexual abuse, alcoholic parents who either weaponized their fists or, and I'll even venture to say equally, possibly even worse, depending on the level of physical abuse, weaponized silence, neglect, who just was that hovering presence like a bear in the living room. You knew you don't go wake that bear up. You don't talk to that bear. You just stay away. For a kid, that sort of silence can be so devastating because they think that they're the problem. In a little kid's head, why in the world would my dad not want to talk to me? Why in the world would my dad not love me enough to go play ball with me? It must be something I did. And so either kids feel so ashamed by that sentiment that they go inside their own selves, they go into their own hole, or they spend their lives trying to be seen. Whether that's spray painting something or making straight A's, but they spend their life trying to make sure dad can see me or mom can see me, right? And so if you've got that story in your backpack, on top of a story being you were born into a story of poverty, right? Which is both checking account issues and psychology, right? It's an ethos. It's a way of being. That's the way we are. And then on top of that, were you a big kid growing up? What were the body issues?
No, just mostly physical appearance. Had horrible teeth my whole life and everything. So that's kind of one of the big things. So.
Okay. So I didn't hear you speak directly into the phone there.
Yeah. So the physical was more just overall general looks.
You didn't think you were a good-looking guy?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so then you not almost, but you have to start figuring out how you can disappear in a crowded room, right? I need to be there, but I don't want people to see me. And that stuff haunts you forever. So here's what I would tell you. Number one, those 3 bricks are enough to keep most of us busy for a lifetime. And trying to dig up any other quote unquote things that you may be carrying around for a while at least will be a distraction to working through those things. And so, man, you've got a lot in your backpack, and I would strongly recommend that you go sit down and meet with somebody that you can be one-on-one with and be honest with, a professional therapist, a professional counselor, a psychologist, that you can be one-on-one and open and honest and say some things that you've been carrying around for a long, long time. Have you ever gone to counseling and met with people over these issues?
I know as a child I've done some, but not in 30 years. So.
Okay. So I think the season is upon you. And there is story after story after story of people who go to counseling carrying the stuff that you've been carrying, and literally they lose physical weight. Their body starts to go, whew, because you've got a kid inside of you, brother, that is still scanning the environment 24/7, 365, even when you're sleeping, for when the next shoe is going to drop. When the next person in relationship to you is going to come in swinging. When the next person's going to come in and take something from you. The next time you're going to have to move and then have to move and then have to move, or somebody puts out a cigarette on you, or whatever the thing is. There is a 9-year-old that is still scanning the environment, trying to keep you safe. And that's why you respond like a child when people threaten your honor. You come out swinging, right? And there's a child protecting you, defending you, going to war for you. And dude, that wasn't supposed to happen. That's what 9-year-olds are supposed to do. They're supposed to play a lot and have fun. And they're supposed to be tethered to mom and dad and have a safe place to be. And I'm heartbroken for you that you weren't. I'm really, you're an extraordinary man that you have been able to carry this around and have 5 kids and be a good dad and be a good business owner and be a good husband. That's a testament to how strong you are. And now you're just going to use that strength that you've developed over the years on another set of tasks, and that's cleaning this thing out. And so what I would tell you is when people ask me, how do I know? What I always want to do is I want to go to those numbing behaviors and reverse engineer that. That's a great way that's a great way that's simple for folks. So for me, let's say it's sweets. Almost 100% of the time when I have a relationship issue, I just go start eating. It's really bizarre. And I watch it happen in real time and I know what it is. And so I know that when I'm feeling lonely, when I'm feeling like my wife isn't appreciating me, when I feel like she's mad at me or I did something stupid or I feel like I failed my kids with something, I didn't fail them, but I did something I wish I hadn't said it that way. I wish I'd said it this way. I just head straight to the fridge. I head straight to the pantry. And so now I know that when I start heading there, I will stop myself and I'll ask myself this question: what is my brain trying to protect me from? And for some folks, it's alcohol. For some folks, it's pornography. For some folks, it's texting an old girlfriend, even though they've been married for 10 years. For other people, it's always getting the last joke in. Everyone's got numbing behaviors that they default to. Some folks, it may be, I'm always going to be right. I'm going to send that email back now. I'm going to take that hit of feeling good right now and fire that email back, even though it's going to cause so much crap for the next 48 hours. Whatever it is for you, find those numbing behaviors, find those explosive behaviors, and begin to reverse engineer it. Because it's when you catch yourself in that moment that you know, oh no, that's what that is, right? And most of us, most of the time, who have experienced what you've experienced, that's really, really hard to do on your own. You're going to need other people in your life, starting with a counselor, then probably with a group of guys that you can trust and be with. Another great place to start. Do you trust your wife, Anthony?
Yeah, I sure do.
So it'd be awesome to let her know this is coming and say, I want to talk about making some major changes in my heart, stuff I've been carrying around since I was a little kid. And I want you to speak into it because I trust you. You're the only people in the world I trust. I want you to speak into some things that you see me do when you know I'm stressed, when you know I'm hurting, when you know I'm frustrated, when you know I'm angry. And I bet she could rattle those off for you right away. And there may be a couple that you don't even know you do. I didn't even know I did some of them until me and my wife had this conversation. And then it becomes about getting the help that you need. And really, dude, I would let the other stuff go right now. You've got a lot of healing to do. How many people report to you in your organization?
8.
Do what?
I have 8 people that are underneath me in
8.
our business.
If they had one word to describe you, what would it be?
I don't know.
Would it be generous, compassionate, intense, angry, frustrated? What would the word be?
Caring.
Caring?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's like one of the greatest, I think it's one of the greatest things, a compliment someone can pay you. So it may be that you circle back and you give those guys permission, those men and women permission. Hey, I'm going to work on some changes. I'm going to work on putting some of these bricks that I've been carrying down for years and years. I'm going to work on putting them down, heal from some old abuse that I suffered as a kid, some old challenges. And I want to start treating everybody nicer. I want to be more plugged in with my family. I want to be more plugged in with you guys here at work, you men and women here at work. What are some things you notice? Because every boss has them, right? What are the things y'all know? Whoa, we better stay away. What are the things that take the air out of a room when you cross me? What are some of those things? Let them speak into that if you trust them. And in doing so, being vulnerable with them, they have permission to be vulnerable with you. And you won't weaponize that information. You won't set them on fire with that information, but you will use that information and you'll take that to a counselor and you'll say, hey, here's what I've been dealing with the last 50 years. I've been dealing with childhood abuse. I've been dealing with alcoholic parents. I've been dealing with poverty. I've been dealing with, I got 5 kids and I want to be a better dad. I've been dealing with, man, my knees hurt, my back hurts. I got headaches all the time. I got to start eating better. I don't think I'm a handsome guy, and that still haunts me to this day, even though I've got an awesome wife. I've got 5 kids, right? Here's some things that people around me say about me. When I get stressed, I go immediately to fights. When I get stressed, I go immediately to the refrigerator. When I get stressed, I go immediately to the bar and have too many drinks and I got to Uber home. Whatever those things are for you, take that slate, take that whiteboard of information to your counselor and say, I'm ready to start healing. I'm ready to get these bricks out of the backpack. And then over time, journaling will become part of that for sure. Community and being seen and heard will be a big part of that. But you're going to start with looking at therapists in the eye, in person preferably, and saying these things out loud. There's something about grief that has to be witnessed. And it becomes healing when other people witness it. Other people carry it with you. They don't judge you and they still love you. And often we need a professional to do that. So that's how you go about looking at these bricks. You go back and look at these stories. When you're an alcoholic, man, that's a forest fire. You got to put the fire out. And then you're going to go back and you're going to start digging into, what did Dad tell me? What did he communicate to me? He communicated to me that alcohol is more important than me. He communicated to me that when I did something, it was so bad that I didn't get to be in a relationship with him. That was the part of the weapon. I learned that being poor, being in poverty was so bad that I'm gonna avoid my kids, my wife. I'm gonna do everything I can to never ever have that. And there will never be an amount of money that I can earn, never a business acumen I can achieve. I'm going to still need more and more and more because I'm always going to be running from that thing, that story, right? Were you poor growing up? Yeah, it's true. Is there such thing as enough? Yeah, there is, right? So you're going to look at those bricks and you're going to demand evidence from them. Was that 9-year-old kid worth hitting? No. Was that 9-year-old kid worth being silent to for 2 weeks? Nope. Right? And you're going to go through those with somebody else, preferably not your wife at this point. And at some point, they're going to bring your wife into these conversations as a part of the counseling process, and you all are going to relearn how to be in a relationship together. You're going to relearn how to talk to each other, how to solve problems, because she's got walls, thicker than a school bus that she's set up to defend herself against you over the last 50 years too. And so she's going to work through these things also. I want you to grab a book, Anthony, called I Don't Want to Talk About It by Terrence Real. We'll link to it in the show notes. It will be a transformative read for you. You can get the audio book or the physical book, but I want you to read it. I want you to go through it, and I want you to let it soak in, because he addresses this exact same story. And I want to thank you for your vulnerability and for your willingness to call. So, good folks, I know it's a little bit different of a show, but this idea of trauma, this idea of let's get to know our bodies in the present. This stuff happened in the past, and it was evil, and it was wrong, and some of it was little t, some of it was small, and we've been carrying it forever, and some of it was big, and some of it, we've told ourselves these stories so long, and they weren't even true. So I'll leave you with this. I've been seeing a counselor for the last year, and I called my dad about 6 months ago. I said, hey, this is going to sound crazy. I just need to ask you this. There was a big blow up when I was a kid involving a local church and me and all kinds of things. And I called my dad and said, hey, was that my fault? Did I do that when I was 12? And he got quiet and said, no, man. Why did you think that? And I exhaled in a way that I haven't exhaled in so long. I've been carrying around that particular cinder block. It was 4 or 5 cinder blocks duct taped together for 25 or 30 years. And it wasn't true. It didn't happen. Right? And there's other bricks that I've discovered along the way thinking, I didn't know I was carrying that. That one's heavy. I had to go get somebody to help me take it out and look at it and examine it and set it down. And then learn new ways of coping and walking. It's hard and it's messy and it's worth it every single time. So I want you to know that you are worth not carrying all these bricks around. You are worth not carrying all these stories around. You are worth forgiving yourself. You are worth being forgiven. You are not the worst thing that ever happened to you. You're not the stupidest thing you've ever done. You're not the stupidest thing you've ever said. You got to go clean some messes up? Yep. You got to forgive some people? Yep. You got to set bricks down? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it starts with getting out a pen and paper like Anthony did, journaling, writing these things down. What are these stories that I'm telling myself? What are these things I'm carrying? And they will come out, and they will come out, and they will come out. And if you got nothing, for sure go see somebody, because the other thing, you got fight, and you got flight, you got running away. And then, man, when you can't fight it, you can't run, your body just goes into neutral. It shuts down. And a lot of us have been shut down for years and years and years and years. And guys, we only get one shot at this crazy tiny little life here. Live it well. So let's don't be shut down anymore. Let's stop fighting. Let's stop running. And let's go put these bricks down.